Hi, everyone, and thank you again for joining me. We're continuing our exploratory data analysis on our data analyst guided project, the Happiness World Index. And what we're going to do from Kaggle, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a bivariate analysis of the whisker high and whisker low. So as we can see from here, these lines on the side of a box plot are called whiskers. And so lots of the time, whiskers are used to represent the higher end and the lower end of a distribution. And so if they're so highly correlated, they might not really tell us a whole bunch about the data set. So we might leave them up. What we're going to do is check and make sure that they are or are not highly correlated. So what we'll do is we'll call SNS dot joint plot, and we'll go data equals df, x equals, capital letters here, whisker high, and then we'll do y equals to whisker low. So we'll be able to see this. And what we're going to do is we're going to call kind equals to reg. So this will give us a regression line in our plot. Let's run that and see what we get here. So we can see really the data set fits really tightly to this line. And so there's a very high correlation. And again, if they're representing the higher and lower end of a distribution, we would expect a very high correlation for this. So what we're going to do is leave this out on the rest of our plot because it's not really necessary, and just so that our cells run a little bit faster, especially when we're doing the pair plot. So the next thing we'll do is we'll print off the columns to get a list of our column names. And as you can see here, I'm renaming the featured column list that we have from up above when we're starting the univariate analysis. And what I can do is I copy and paste this here, and you can see I'm just commenting out the ones that we're not using. So rank, country, whisker high, whisker low. And if you're a student, you would have access to the workflow with this already done for you. So what we're going to do is look at a pair plot. So we'll go SNS dot pair plot, and we're going to call data equals df. Okay, and we're going to only put in the features that we want to look at. So features, so the short list of features that we've created just for this analysis to help make pairplot run a little bit faster. Pairplot will take a minute or so to run. It is generating a lot of plots. So let's sit here and wait for this to run. Okay. And you can see here we get a large plot with lots of different related plots. So you can see here we have the happiness score, and we can see that there is a relationship. The GDP per capita, social support do show some sort of relationship, that the higher the happiness score is, generally, not perfectly, but generally we move to a happier, healthy life expectancy, freedom of choices, and so those all move up a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is, pair plots are really valuable, and if you're a student, you would have access to this workbook, and you would have the observations that I made. So it's good to review these and make sure you understand exactly why I said what I did. So we're going to call pairplot again, and we're going to do the same thing that we did up above in the univariate analysis and look at the pairplot, but look at it by the different happiness groups that we've created when we use pandas to bin this. So what we'll do is the df, and we're just going to look at the features we've created. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go hue equals to happiness score bins. And so we'll be able to use these bins as our hue. And we're also going to call kind equals reg. So this will give us a regression line for each bivariate sample of features, but with the hue, so it's going to create a different regression line for each hue in our bucket. So let's wait for this to generate. Okay, so here we have our pair plot generated, and we can see here that it's separated them by color. And we can see that the colors are very easily separated when we're looking at this first column, which is the happiness score. But as we get to the other ones, I just want to point out there, we could look at every individual bivariate analysis and analyze it, but for the interest of time, just looking at something simple like the GDP per capita by the perceptions of corruption, we can see that group 4 has a very different layout, a different regression than the other ones. And so this would be important to note because this might change in how we're building a model. So it's really important to note when you're really analyzing the data to get started or to support a data scientist. So the next thing we're going to look at is the correlation. So we go SNS dot heat map, and we'll call our data equals df dot core. And so this is going to give us a correlation matrix, and we're going to put this right into our heat map as it is. And you can see we get a nice, easy heat map, and we can see that some have higher correlations and these higher amounts right here. So we see whisker high, whisker low are very highly, basically perfectly correlated with each other, and also very highly related to the happiness score. Whereas other ones have a much lower correlation or even a negative correlation. In the interest of time, I won't go over all of the observations, but you can see here, if you're a student, you would have access to this, and please make sure that you understand exactly how I'm saying this and why I said what I said. So the next thing we'll look at is correlation with. So we used correlation here. We created a correlation matrix using .core. So we're going to look at correlation with, because really what we're concerned about is the correlation with our features. So let's look at our features and go .core with, so correlation with, and we have to give it a series of our data sets. So we want to look at the happiness score. So happiness, capital H, happiness score. And so this will give us a happiness score. And to sort these values in the order, so we can see from ascending to descending. So let's go sort values. And we'll go ascending equals false. So that means the highest one will start, and we'll kind of go into descending values, sort values. Oops, and I forgot to add the S here. Perfect. Okay, so sort values. I like when you see error messages, but they're easy mistakes to fix. So we see that we have a perfect correlation with the happiness score, which is exactly what we'd expect. But we see social support, per capita, and life expectancy have a very high correlation, whereas the generosity is a very low correlation to how happy you are. So generosity really seems like it has not too much to do with how happy people are, which surprises me. And I have some more observation here for students, so please make sure you review those. We're going to quickly look at Shapley values. Now this is quite advanced,